1999, the last great year at the movie theater, was, Pod 1 viewer.
You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
My new giant robot. I am now the luckiest kid in America.
You can make millions, never have to work again. The guy made $1 million.
Lester, you're gonna spill beer on the couch.
We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't.
In 1999, if you'd walked into a movie theater, you had probably walked into a classic.
Do you want to dance? Or do you want to dance?
And it's never been the same ever since. Hola, Padawan viewers, this is Juevos, and today we're going to unscramble what made 1999 so special and what caused the slow, then sudden decline of the American movie theater experience.
You smug son of a...
It's impossible to talk about why movies in 1999 resonate so deeply and there will never be a year like it again without talking about America's place in the world. And that story starts in 1991. George H.W. Bush oversaw America as the sole superpower.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut the up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would shut up. Shut the
The Cold War was over.
Today we are opening the first McDonald's in Moscow.
And the Gulf War was a 100-day exercise in setting up Burger Kings on the front lines of Iraq. All of this coincided with the rise of the internet. In the book, The End of History and the Last Man, Francis Fukuyama argued that economic liberalism and democracy had triumphed. America, it seemed, had ended war, ended history, and kicked off the most prosperous era in its existence and in the world. This sense of inevitable peace was clarified in Thomas Friedman's Golden Arches theory of conflict prevention. The idea that no two countries with McDonald's would ever go to war, because who would fight if it meant losing access to fries and Big Macs? The economy was booming, life was good, almost too good. Ennui set in, a boredom so deep it became existential, and by the time it reached the screen, it looked like Fight Club.
We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place.
America was on top of the world, but looking down from its peak, it was depressing. This era also marked the slow death of the indie studio system.
So what happened was, the DVD was a huge part of our business, of our revenue stream, and technology has just made that obsolete.
Back when films could still find their footing years later on physical media.
You could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater because you knew you had the DVD coming behind the release.
It was a weird cross-section of cinema. Large indie films becoming blockbusters. Star Wars Episode 1, with a budget of $63 million, is the biggest indie of them all.
But then I just said, I'm going to do the worst thing you can do, which is to finance my own movies, but then nobody can touch me. And so I did that.
And then there were the ennui-laced classic movies like American Beauty and The Matrix, films that ask if suburban lawns were enough. This is also timed with the birth of Netflix beginning to offer a DVD monthly subscription concept in September 1999.
There's a better way to rent movies. As many as you want for just $20 a month and no late fees. Go to Netflix.com, make a list of the movies you want to see, and in about one business day, you'll get 3 DVDs.
But this boredom, this depression, it wasn't going to last. Because to quote Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
I think this story's gonna have a happy ending.
Happy endings are just stories that haven't finished yet.
and America was about to wake up from this walking dream. America awoke to a terrifying reality that had blindsided everyone, except maybe those on the CIA or FBI email chain. America wasn't immune to attack. Economic liberalism had failed. This shock coincided with another collapse, the dot-com bubble
It's
burst.
described as nothing short of breathtaking, a points drop never before seen on the US market.
The internet had been sold as the future, but simply slapping a www onto your company's quarterly reports wasn't a business plan. It was a Ponzi scheme waiting to fall apart. And it did. Meanwhile, at the movies, where viewership was still peaking, Americans met their first true modern studio superhero. 2002's Spider-Man starring Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man swung onto the screen as a hopeful hero.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
America heard that message loud and clear and made sure the world heard it too.
This is what it's like on the receiving end.
Great power meant enforcing its will, and in the shadow of terror, America responded with force. But while America wrestled with his post-9/11 identity crisis,
Be real, son. Try to kill my father, man. What? You play that. Say word, they tried to kill your father, son. That nigga tried to kill my father! Everything we love, we coming to see ya.
something more subtle was happening. The rise of tech intertwining with manufacturing consent as described by Noam Chomsky.
And therefore you have to control what people think. And the standard way to do this is to resort to what in more honest days used to be called propaganda, manufacture of consent.
Manufactured consent didn't just happen through embedded journalism, it happened through tech. Netflix went public on May 23, 2002, accelerating the slow death of physical media. Movies stopped asking us to gather together. Instead, they started showing up at our doors, asking nothing but our attention. It wasn't just war, it was manufactured consent by convenience through technology. And America didn't fight it. America wrestled with it, made peace with it, and in the end, embraced it. And then came 2008. The Dark Knight hit theaters, smashing box office records.
Holy box office! Batman has swooped past Spidey and claimed title to the king of Hollywood's box office superheroes.
It's simple.
And redefining what a superhero movie could be. Dark, complex, and morally ambiguous. It wasn't just a movie, it was a mirror. America was still reeling from 9/11 and had traded the glory optimism of the early 90s for the early 2000s fear, surveillance, and cynicism. Heroes weren't clean-cut anymore. They were broken, bruised, and forced to make impossible choices. But 2008 wasn't just about Gotham's descent into chaos. It was about our descent into the era of convenience. Because in January 2008, Netflix quietly launched a service that would change everything. Unlimited streaming at no extra cost. Suddenly, movies didn't require parking, overpriced popcorn, or collective experience. Stories came straight to you, on demand, in private. By November 2008, Netflix had ended its sale of used DVDs and shifted focus entirely towards streaming. It wasn't just the birth of the binge, it was the death knell for the theater as a cultural hub.
Place like this, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
With sound that I can feel.
Our heroes feel like the best part of us, and our stories.
And as the final blow, Iron Man,
The Jericho.
also released in 2008, laid the foundations for the tentpole film, where bigger risks and bigger rewards also meant bigger failures. And finally, the most important fact of 2008.
Now it's official, we are in a recession. The research group that...
The Great Recession. Cheap money was no longer going around. And so the decline began at the movie theater, slowly, subtly, and lead directly to the rise of reality TV as cheaper entertainment. Movies were no longer DVDs with the family that played on repeat. Instead, our phones became our means to hide from the crumbling world, and America chose to stop going to the theater.
What are you doing here, honey? not even old enough to know how bad life gets.
Obviously, Doctor. You've never been a 13-year-old girl.
The Virgin Suicides premiered in 1999, and it too deals with an ennui existence. The film is directed by Sofia Coppola and based on Jeffrey Eugenides' 1993 debut novel, and follows a group of neighborhood boys trying to understand why the Lisbon sisters took their own lives.
Even then, as teenagers, we tried to put the pieces together. We still can't. Now, whenever we run into each other at business lunches or cocktail parties, we find ourselves in the corner going over the evidence one more time.
They search for a neat answer, a single reason why, but all they find are fragments, clues. And the deeper they look, the more they realize that some mysteries aren't meant to be fully understood. That's where we are right now, watching this video essay. We're the boys, staring back at 1999. At Fight Club,
we're very, very pissed off.
The Matrix.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The Virgin Suicides.
That girl didn't want to die. She just wanted out of that house. She wanted out of that decorating scheme.
Trying to understand why movie theaters mattered so much then and why they feel so hollow now. We look for simple answers. Streaming killed it. Superheroes took over. Attention spans got shorter. But the truth is, it's messier.
I saved this film in the edit, trust me.
Great movies still exist. Last year gave us Ennui, The Brutalist, Dune 2, and The Substance.
And the Oscar
goes to...
And blaming it all on studios only greenlighting existing IPs isn't right either. Fight Club, Star Wars, and The Virgin Suicides were all adaptations. It seems 1999 was about something bigger. It was America at its cultural peak.
I got a coalition of the willing. I got 40 nations ready to roll, son.
Like who?
Who said that? Huh? Like who?
A country still interconnected enough to ask hard questions together and to one another. These movies gave us some of the last clues about America as a single collective body wrestling with its own identity.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Fight Club showed a generation losing purpose.
Our Great Depression is our lives.
The Matrix warned us about trading reality for comfort. And The Virgin Suicides revealed how distance and misunderstanding can rot a community from within.
So much has been said about the girls over the years, but we have never found an answer.
But we haven't solved the mystery.
It didn't matter in the end how old they had been.
When the towers fell, when the wars dragged on, and when recessions hit, America chose distraction. We stopped asking why and settled for what's next. We binge, we scroll, we consume stories in isolation. The communal experience, sitting in the dark, wrestling with something real together, became inconvenient. Like those boys looking back at the Lisbon sisters, we're left with fragments, clues that don't add up to a full picture. The theater didn't die all at once, it faded quietly in pieces. We didn't just lose the theater, we lost the last place where we wrestled with hard questions together. The last place where discomfort was collective. The last place where it mattered to sit in the dark and feel something real. And like those boys, we'll spend the rest of our lives wondering, what could we have done differently to save it? And the answer will be nothing. It was always meant to happen this way.
Surprise, motherfucker!
¡Toma ya! ¡Hacémoslo!